right, here with Michael, MT Video Productions, MT Productions.
MT Productions, that's it.
He's our videographer, so if you like the content, give him a follow. We're putting together this video about upping your prices because Matt, one of the board members, it's been a while since he's done it. He works actively in the association and it's time for him. So we're going to be documenting and recording it, and hopefully it'll help some people who are experiencing some of the same, I guess, aspects of self-doubt and feeling a little bit lost in that transition, how to do it. This is for you.
It's around the am I worth that? And the imposter syndrome that comes with it. It's like, oh, geez, how can I charge this much? It's just it's me. Those things just help open your eyes up to, yes, you are actually worth it. And then that helps get over that hesitancy, but then also the response from your clients then helps reinforce the decision you've made.
So if you're a sports nutritionist, accredited sports nutritionist, online coach, someone that works in the online or nutrition consulting business, you probably know and feel like you need to increase your prices and should be doing so every 1 to 2 years. And that's the case. Now, it doesn't always have to be a price rise, but it could be a reduction in time. But it's got to be something along one of those two every 1 to 2 years. And if you haven't done that, this video is for you. We're going to teach you exactly how you're going to do it. So then you can go ahead and apply this model and successfully execute that in your practices. So who am I and why I'm doing this? I'm Alex Thomas. I'm the founder and president of the Sports Nutrition Association. We are the only body in the world responsible for establishing and standardizing what best practice is in sports nutrition. And I believe in leaving the industry in a much better place than where I found it. So what do I get out of this? What I get is the people who do this, who then align with the values of higher standards of education, actually being regulated and seeing the industry gets better, eventually become members of ours. And then in 10, 20, and 30 years time, you have fantastic careers and I get to talk about it and say, here's what we did and how we were successful. So the first thing that we did in order to identify how to scale, how to increase prices and potentially reduce time is do an assessment of exactly what he was spending his time on, what he was charging for all the services. And this is what we came up with. You're probably going to be feeling a little bit nervous about this shit, especially with some of these jumps, which you were, hey?
A little bit, yeah, for sure.
And so
it's probably the third time that I've raised prices though. Because there was one that I did with Pete and he got me to up them considerably.
Yeah.
The second that I did off the back of Nat's stuff, that was probably a smaller one. And then this is the third time.
Proof of concept is you can do this thing, earn a full-time wage, not work full-time hours, and then it gives you the freedom to pursue other things.
It's around the am I worth that? And the imposter syndrome that comes with it. It's like, oh, geez, how can I charge this much? It's just it's me. But then all of the examples that we look at, even that we've discussed are with the different people who have different offerings that we've seen and the level of service that I give and the amount of experience that I've had that we went through with Kylie and those things just help open your eyes up to, yes, you are actually worth it. And then that helps get over that hesitancy, but then also the response from your clients then helps reinforce the decision you've made.
So there was an online nutrition service that was taking approximately 7 hours a week. There was an additional online training, programming, and technique feedback service that was taking approximately 13 hours a week. And then there was a one-on-one face-to-face model, gym-based model that was taking anywhere from 3 to 5 hours per week. The pricing for these varied a little bit. He was initially working at $60 per week for a fortnightly check-in for nutrition, and the check-ins were going for approximately 30 minutes. For the online training with feedback, that was being charged at approximately $79 per week. And the time for that was blowing out exponentially. And that's what we identified in the process. The face-to-face stuff was being billed at approximately $120 to $130 an hour. There wasn't being too much time spent there. So what we identified in this process was that the online training and feedback model that he was running with and how he was utilizing his systems were his worst ROI and exchange for time-based service, needed to change the most. And so we made the following changes based on Matt's values. Matt's value and what he was looking to do was increase revenue and increase pricing because he was due to do so, but significantly reduce the time in which he was spending on these services, given what he knew he could do for the amount of people that he was working with, and ideally how long that should be taking. Before you even looked at it, you were like, it's pretty good money, low time. Then you came back and you were like, holy shit, I'm spending a lot more time than I thought. Hey.
Yeah.
And stuff that we looked at was like feedback channels, interaction channels, all that kind of stuff. And so Matt's consolidating it all into WhatsApp. It just makes like uploading, communicating so much better rather than in-app stuff.
Not to like shit on a platform or whatever, but there were multiple times where clients had told me that they couldn't upload videos, or it took them a long time to upload videos as well. And then reviewing my processes, looking at the time that I spend giving feedback on those same videos that took the clients ages to upload, I'm like, oh, that takes considerable amount of time to give an individual video on each day when they could upload all their videos at once into this one app, which is WhatsApp.
So given that those were the areas that he wanted to focus on and he wanted to reduce time primarily and then secondarily increase money, that's what we look to do. So the steps were from here, now that we'd identified where the time vacuum was and what needed to be changed, was identify realistic solutions to the time drain in the specific services and where those bottlenecks were occurring. Some of them were in like the CRM, the training CRM that he was using. Others were in how he was communicating across multi-platform. So what we did was have one dedicated platform for both technique footage to be sent and then communication would occur. And that was in WhatsApp. So everyone can send their videos in WhatsApp. He can go into WhatsApp on his desktop, view all the videos, and then record a quick Loom video and then pop that in the WhatsApp chat thread with the client there. So then having all client communications to WhatsApp brought that down significantly. For nutrition, it was as simple as reducing the check-in and consultation time to a 15 to 20 minute consult as opposed to a 30-minute consult, because the people that he was working with were getting the same outcomes in a 15 to 20 minute consultation window as opposed to a 30. And what he found was that's a lot of that time in that 30 to 45 minute consult that he was working with and running was that it was being spent talking on really non-essential things, talking about life, having more of a social catch up. And then that was then taking away from projects that he wanted to pursue outside of the consultation-based work. So we brought that time in and increased that fee a little bit. The final thing was then just increasing the amount that he was charging in the one-to-one sessions and just ensuring that it was matching that similar time and ROI for per unit of time for his now updated online training and technique feedback, and then updated fortnightly nutrition consultation and weekly check-in services. So now there's a nice even average across those services. From here, once we'd had it planned out and we'd identified what the services were going to look like, how much they were going to cost, it was all about then transitioning to the client and then providing them with notice about these updated changes. So for our members, we're going to give you access to this template that we used for the email correspondence. And then if you want to then use it for additional correspondence in chat threads or anything like that to follow up, you're more than welcome to. For the video purposes, we're going to show you some aspects of it, but the real principles are give people at least 30 days notice. Okay. So 30 days or 4 weeks notice to know that the changes are happening. A lot of them are going to understand. They will expect you to be changing your services and increasing your prices every 1 to 2 years because it's natural and it needs to come in line with inflationary changes. The majority of people are going to be supportive of that as well. So if you give them notice, you let them know how much it is and it's reasonable, you're going to be fine. So we got the communication out, we gave them plenty of notice, and then that gave the time for any people that had questions to be able to do so in a timely manner. And then that also allowed for Matt to then be able to have a dialogue and discussion with them to work out the best possible solution for them moving forward. So it's not something that's being dropped on them with a day or two's notice. So how it ended up was he went from 22 to 25 hours a week, earning an average of $6,200 to $6,800 a month, to now working approximately 7 to 9 hours a week for an increased revenue by 5% of approximately $6,500 to $7,200 a month. Now, a big thing in this was Matt experiencing a lot of self-doubt, feeling like he wasn't entitled to be justifying these changes, these increasing in prices, the reduction in time, and having a more efficient service provision model, and was really experiencing some aspects of imposter syndrome. Now, Matt, like I said at the beginning, is the head assessor within the Sports Nutrition Association. He's degree qualified. He's got over a decade of experience. So if anyone has a resume of why they could justify increasing their prices, he definitely does. So he was experiencing these things. The biggest take home from this process that you should take home if you're watching this on how to do it is that ultimately cost and duration will be things that your clients care about to a degree. But what they care about more is that you're helping them get the outcome that they want for their money and time. So if it increases by $5 or $10 a week, for some people, that's going to be a bit of a deal breaker. But if they reduce frequency and they're still then adhering to these new rates that you're doing and they're still getting the outcome, then they're happy. So they don't care about price and frequency and the volume and length of the appointments as much as they care about the outcome. And if you still get them the outcome and can get them the outcome confidently and in a way that suits their lifestyle, then they'll be happy to go along with it, provided you always give them notice and then give them the time to talk about it and show them how it's going to suit and fit their lifestyle from there.